All right, good morning, sixth graders. Today, what we're going to be doing is we're going to continue looking at A Long Way Home. We are going to be looking at the author's style and kind of how the author was able to use descriptive words to kind of give us a mood or a tone of how the story is going to feel. So today, again, make sure that you are working on that bell ringer question. Today it's going to be dealing with the quote of the week. So you're going to be defining what is the definition of the quote. What does it mean to you? How might it relate to you as sixth graders? And then do you agree with that quote? Then we're going to be looking at A Long Way Home. We're going to be looking at mood, which is going to be on page 200 or 427. So if you have your textbook with you, you can take a look at that and kind of follow along. We're also going to be working with some mood and tone type stuff using IXL C2. And then just to kind of wrap what we read yesterday, we are going to be answering what drives people to explore and how this story related to that essential question. So to start with, we have the mood. So a mood in this memoir contains a rich descriptive details. In his narrative, he introduces people, events, and ideas, and then provides additional details to further illustrate and elaborate. The depth of description enables readers to fully engage in Beerley's journey. Along with him, here are some descriptive examples of A Long Way Home. So he is using mood to describe actions. So when he says that I traced all the connections within the Northeast states without finding anything familiar, I was confident that I could rule out Orsia too. So in here, he's saying that even though he is not finding anything familiar, so he is confident since that he did not find that he knows that that is not the place that was his hometown, since it wasn't familiar. So he's kind of using that tone of saying that he's using the connections, and that since nothing was really clicking, it wasn't bringing back any type of memory, that he was so confident by those actions that he could rule out that town. He uses mood when he is describing places. So when he's saying that I zoomed back in and re-examined the Ring Road, the water tower, and the overpass, they were all positioned where I remembered them. So think if you are zooming back and you're remembering all these things, do you think as he was describing this, is he using a mood that is kind of somber, where he's like, whatever, kind of sad about it? Or is it kind of using a mood that is excited? If he is zooming back into the room and he's examining these things, he's remembering it, he's using that description to kind of tell us that he's excited. Sometimes they even use those description of emotions. So finally, after a couple of minutes, I forced myself to take the next step. Slowly, nervously, I tried to calm myself so I didn't jump into any rash conclusions. Kind of when I read this explanation, I kind of think of if I am sitting in a room and I hear noise in another room. Maybe something got knocked over or something like that, or Mila is doing something. I kind of had to tell myself, all right, as I'm walking slowly to this room, I had to tell myself that it was probably just my dog. There's nothing in that room. And he's kind of using that mood to kind of tell us that he's probably really, really nervous, or that his heart is really pounding, and that is going on. So I have a couple different examples of mood. And another word for mood is tone. So kind of think of like the tone of their voice. You can kind of think back to like word association. If those two videos that I showed of my dog way back when she was in trouble, kind of think of the tone that I used when I was talking to her. It was more stern, and she knew that she was in trouble. Where when we were at the park and we were throwing her frisbee, it's more, hey, let's go, and she's more excited because I'm using that type of tone in my voice. So think of this. If you were to email a friend about any of the following topics, think about what your mood would be. So if you were emailing your best friends about a surprise party, what kind of mood and tone would you be using? So Think about that for a second. Now, hopefully a lot of you said probably excited. You're getting really excited about this. You're going to do this, this, and that. You're going to have this, this, and this for everyone. It's going to be so much fun because we're going to jump out and we're going to yell surprise. You're getting excited. If you're talking to a friend about a surprise party, you're probably getting really, really excited. Or on the other hand, if it is the person that you're having the surprise party for, you might be a little bit more nonchalant about that, using the vocabulary from the last story. But if, let's say, I'm having a surprise party for a friend and they're asking me what I'm going to be doing this weekend, oh, just going to be sitting at home, maybe reading a book, watching a movie. You're just being more nonchalant about that. So it could go either way with kind of those feelings. Let's say that you're emailing a friend about the following topic of you have to take a test and you forgot to study for it. So think of how your emotion would be towards that friend. I'm guessing that a lot might have like a panic type mode, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I forgot to do this, and you're stressed out. So you might have an email to a friend that's going to be a little bit more stressed, maybe panicked, not sure what to do. And then our last example is having to work instead of hanging out with your friend. Think of how your email might have that type of tone. Now, if you think of that, if you are emailing a friend telling them that you can't hang out because you have to go to work, you will probably have a type of tone that's a little bit more depressed, somber, you're bummed out, and you'd be using kind of words to express that feeling. So we're going to take a couple looks at a couple of examples here. This is coming from that table that is on page 427. So we had to kind of think of the mood of the passage here. If he is saying, I recalled all those warm nights outside, under the stars, which at least suggested it wouldn't be in the colder regions of the far north. I hadn't lived by the sea, although I couldn't rule out that I'd lived near it. And I hadn't lived in the mountains. My hometown had a railway station. India was riddled with train lines. But they didn't run through every single village in town. So, from paragraph 4, if he is really reflecting back on kind of his childhood, he's probably going to have more of a reflective or kind of a dreamy type of tone because he is remembering. For our next paragraph, if anything, I became more intense about my search as 2010 drew to a close, and the spread of our newly acquired broadband connection made it quicker to refresh the images and zoom in and out, but I still had to take it slowly. If I rushed, I'd leave myself open to wondering later if I'd missed anything and then going back in an endless cycle. So he's talking about how now the end of the year has come, but he has these new tools with the internet where he can zoom in on the Google Maps and it's quicker to refresh. But he's still saying that even though all this new technology is really exciting, he still has to tell himself to take it slow. You don't want to rush because then I had to go back through and do it all again. Think of some of your homework at times. You might be wanting to rush because you want to get it done because you're so excited. You don't want to have to do it for home. But many of you have to slow down, take your time so that the teacher doesn't return it and tell you to redo it. So think of what kind of emotions would that be? So again, he's probably really eager because there's all this new technology, but also maybe a little bit of tenseness in the sense that even though he's really excited, he has to slow down to make sure that he's doing it right the first time. Now, our last paragraph I thought to myself, this is unique. I haven't seen this before. I zoomed out, discovering the train line skimmed the northeastern edge of the really large town. I clicked on the blue train station, a symbol to reveal its name, Burhanpur. My heart nearly stopped. Burhanpur. So if he is now discovering something that he hadn't seen before, And now as he's clicking on it, if his heart is nearly stopping, what type of emotion is he trying to tell us that is happening? I'm guessing probably some type of great excitement or maybe anticipation of, oh my gosh, could this really be it? So as you can see, the author used a lot of different type of tones and moods throughout the story to kind of give us those descriptive details of how he was feeling. So what you're going to be doing is you're going to be working on some mood questions. And again, I have this nice little note in there about making sure to write incomplete sentences. But the mood questions are going to look very similar to this. He has a couple passages here. So it's telling you to go back and look at specific paragraphs and what you are going to be doing. So up here is just kind of an example. If you need to read through that to kind of have another example of what I just kind of went through, this is another example of what we did, but it's on paper there. So our directions. You have to read each of the following excerpts from the selection A Long Way Home. Then you can underline any words. So in this paragraph, if you need to like underline, you can highlight, probably not in black, but you can highlight or you can underline any words in that paragraph that will help you. Okay? But you're going to underline that kind of help us create the mood in the excerpt. So again, you're going to want to underline or highlight. I'll even put it in yellow so that you guys remember. And I want to highlight it. And then you want to tell in a complete sentence below kind of what kind of mood the passage is creating. So first you're going to have to highlight any words in that paragraph, and then you're going to have to tell me what is the mood of the passage. So I have just gone through a lot of examples, and that is what you are going to be doing. Then at the very bottom here on the next page, there is an essential question. I just want you guys to kind of reflect on what you read yesterday and think of kind of what drives people to explore. Based on the story that we just read, what has this kind of told us about what drives people to explore? Because he's not necessarily going out to search somewhere new, but think of what is he trying to explore in this story. Then, just for some extra practice on mood, I'm going to have you guys work on IXL. So if you go to IXL, you are going to be going to the 6th grade language arts. And just in this first part, it's reading strategies. And under author's purpose and tone, you're going to be working on C2. So within here, again, the same type of thing. You have to select the part in this paragraph that's going to have that disgusted tone. Like they don't know what that person is doing. Okay, so these are just a few examples. This is not going, the IXL is not going to be due until next week. It's just some extra practice to practice that mood and tone so that you guys can kind of help develop that understanding. So the big thing is going to be your paragraphs, and then the IXL is going to be practice, but this is not going to be due until next week. So again, if you have any questions, please make sure that you can either email me, you can call me on my cell phone through that number on the top of Google Classroom. You can stop into the Zoom meeting today at 2, or if you want to, you can email me and I can set up a time to kind of have a Google Hangout and it's just me and you talking face-to-face on the video conference so that if you feel like you want to ask a question, then there's no one else in that conversation. So lots of different ways that you guys can get a hold of me there. So I hope you guys have a great Thursday and we will talk to you tomorrow.